Welcome to our Ambassador Interviews webzine. My name is Yvonne Kim, and I am the Executive Director of Asia Society Korea. Today, it is my honor to interview Ambassador of India, Her Excellency Sripriya Ranganathan. Ambassador Sripriya Ranganathan is a career diplomat who joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1994. She has extensive experience in headquarters, having served in various capacities in the Ministry of External Affairs, as well as in the Department of Commerce and Industry. Ambassador Ranganathan was appointed as the Ambassador of India to the Republic of Korea in 2018 and has been a loyal member of Asia Society Korea since her arrival. We just cannot thank her enough for all her support and generosity. Your Excellency, thank you for agreeing to take the time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Hope your New Year's off to a good start. How are you?
Absolutely fine, Yvonne, and it's such a pleasure to be able to be part of this very exciting program. I'm always happy to do whatever I can to support the Asia Society in its activities. I think it's a great organization, and I still remember with a lot of affection our first meeting, which was back in, I think, within weeks of my arrival here, when I think the chairperson's spouse had organized a small lunch for us, and with a group of lady ambassadors. And in a way, that was an initiation into the work of the Asia Society here in Seoul, allowed me to pick up the threads from earlier interaction with Asia societies around the world, and also introduced me to the group of ambassadors here who are now very close friends, and we call ourselves the Soul Sisters. So, it was thanks to the Asia Society that we began that innings in a way.
Thank you so much. And we always enjoy working with you and your embassy. And you've always been tremendously helpful and supportive. We really appreciate that. I would like to start today's conversation about the bilateral relations. Historically, our relationship goes all the way back to when Princess from Sri Ratna came to Korea, married King Kim Suro, and became Queen Her Hwangok hundreds of years ago. But today, we'll focus on the 60th anniversary of the India and South Korea bilateral relations. So, Your Excellency, what are your plans for the anniversary?
Well, our anniversary will actually be in 2023 because we began our diplomatic relations back in December 1973. So we will be celebrating a milestone in 2023. And we have a very exciting set of plans in planning process right now. We are discussing with the Korean government on what would be of interest to them. The Korean embassy in New Delhi is discussing with the Ministry of External Affairs and other agencies on what we can do together so that we are really able to celebrate this very special moment in our bilateral ties. We think that we will be able to do more live events, more offline events by that time, because hopefully Corona should be a spent force by then. And if that is the case, we look forward to having a lot of cultural programs, a lot of performing arts, a lot of exhibitions, conferences, ways in which we can really highlight the connections between us, the friendship between our peoples, and also motivate our young in both countries. There is a lot of, I think, curiosity about Korea in India, a lot of curiosity about India in Korea, and we would really like to play to that interest and try and get the kids in the colleges, in the schools, more involved in this, in our activities, so that we can create a great platform for the future.
That sounds great, and I'm sure that your embassy and Asia Society Korea will have a lot of programs to work on together. Let's talk about economic issues. Since the signing of the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement in 2010 and South Korea's new Southern policy, economic ties have continued to strengthen between the two countries. And how has Korean investment grown in India, and how can economic relations be strengthened in the future?
Absolutely. Again, Yvonne, you've highlighted the important elements. The the India ROK SEPA is one of the pillars of our commercial and economic relationship, and we really see the need to not only count on that, but also to reinforce that, make it more meaningful, make it broader, more comprehensive in its reach and its spread. Just a few weeks ago, the Korean trade minister was in India for talks with the Indian commerce minister, and this was the main focus of the discussions, that how do we make the SEPA more comprehensive? How do we identify what is it that we need to offer to each other by way of enhanced market access, so that our business persons are really able to take advantage of the friendship as well as the synergies between our economies. We also have been discussing about the need to, how do we find ways of bridging the trade deficit, because I think that's a matter of deep concern in India, that while the trade is growing, the distortion is also growing at the same time. So that is a kind of a balance that we have to restore. And what can we do to promote the investment ties? It's a good relationship. It's a strong relationship, but I still see it as being a case of so much more of potential and so much more of a journey that we can usefully undertake in the coming years. By way of bilateral trade, we are at about $21-22 billion. We have a target, mutually agreed target of $50 billion by 2030, and I think that is easily achievable if we just make the market access a little more simple and a little more business friendly on both sides. Trade investment, two-way investment is at about 10 billion right now, and I think with the kind of policies that the Indian government has rolled out by way of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, which means in essence, how can we leverage the Indian strengths, the economic strengths, the market strengths, the human resource strengths, to be able to connect with friends and partners around the world and make those synergies possible. And we are seeing some fantastic policy changes that are being made in India to incentivize foreign direct investment and institutional investment. We've seen on the receiving side, we are seeing that the Korean companies are excited. There was a big announcement. I don't know if you caught it, but there was a big announcement a few days back of huge investment or agreement to invest by POSCO in partnership with one of the biggest Indian companies, Adani. I'm expecting that other big companies like LG Chem, LG Energy Solutions, and many others Hyundai Steel are likely to follow suit. I see a lot of companies that are just waiting for COVID to ease off a bit so that they can travel easily to India, can receive delegations from India so that they can concretize their initial conversations. I think we are going to see very, very exciting developments over the next, I would say 2 to 5 years, and that will be completely transformative in terms of the intensity and the meaning of this relationship.
Let's take the conversation to our other friends in the region. And recently, India, United States, Japan, and Australia held a Quad Leaders Summit on Indo-Pacific regional issues. And as India expands its international alliances in the Pacific region, what steps has India taken to strengthen strategic ties with South Korea?
Again, the fact is that India and ROK are very natural partners within the region in which we are, and that is the Indo-Pacific. I think the course of human history, civilizational history, is very clear, and we are in the era where the dynamism, the energy, and the leadership of the future is most definitely within the embrace of these two giant oceans, the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. And I think as countries which have strong friendship, a special strategic partnership, a long history of interaction. You mentioned way back in history the legendary romance of Queen He and King Kim Suro, the Buddhist connections. I think in more recent times, the very positive contribution that was made, the humanitarian contribution that was made by the Indian Armed Forces during the Korean War, the kind of intimacy that has been built up, the trust that has been built up over time between our political leadership, our military leadership. I think these are all indicators of the kind of strength, innate strength that exists. And I see the future trajectory as being completely positive. There is a lot of attention on Korea and India within the framework of our Act East policy. There is a prioritization of India within the Korean system, within the New Southern Policy Plus, and these are really very natural alliances, if you like. And within the Indo-Pacific framework, all the segments in which there is strength in both countries and prioritization by both countries, be it in the area of checking climate change, be it in the area of enhancing the contribution of renewable energy within our overall energy mix, be it in the area of health, public health, because I think both India and Korea have a strong role and a strong vision in what they would like to see as being their contribution to the world in the area of public health in the aftermath of the COVID-19 outbreak. The kind of support that we can provide through our strengths in the vaccine industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, and in areas like critical technologies, new and emerging technologies. I think these are all aspects in which we can very usefully work together. The maritime space is a space which is, again, very naturally a shared asset of India and the Republic of Korea. And we hope very much that we will be able to work with our friends and partners in this country to be able to advance our areas of cooperation and come up with solutions, come up with new projects, come up with new technology demonstrators, which can have a lasting and positive impact on the world.
Great. You've been an advocate for women's rights and being involved in women's leadership forums, many of them, since you arrived here. And you also participated in our inequality discussion with our young leaders not too long ago. What do you see as some of the issues women have faced during the pandemic in India and also around the world? And what type of advice would you have for the young generation women leaders?
Difficult question, Yvonne, because this is, I think, still a stage where the full scope of the impact of the pandemic that we are still living through is yet to be fully understood. I've been following with interest and with a little bit of dismay the reports on the excessive impact or the inordinate impact on women of the COVID pandemic in India and in other geographies around the world. If I just take the case of India now, what I hear from and what I read from several academic studies that have already been, research studies that have been carried out, is that in a situation where the economy was contracting and where there was need for companies and organizations to reduce their costs, there was a lot of laying off of workers and employees. And typically, the percentage of women who suffered job losses is much higher than that of men. And even more, unfortunately, the percentage of educated, well-qualified women who are laid off in comparison to equally qualified men is much, much more. Not so much in the less skilled, maybe the what we would call the blue collar workers or the self-employed workers, the impact on those has not been so grave. But I don't take much comfort in that, because to me, the what I read from these signs is that where companies were facing this kind of pressure, there was a tendency to tell the women that, okay, sorry, we don't have space for you anymore, please go home. And that is bad in itself. The other phenomenon that I've been reading about and I've been hearing about, this is anecdotal as well, from many women who are trying to balance the demands of careers with the demands of family and other obligations, is that the burden of balancing these two very challenging requirements has become even more difficult. Already difficult, but even more difficult in the COVID times, especially with so much of work from home protocols. It's very counterintuitive, because you would imagine that work from home is desirable and helpful to women who are trying to manage young children and also manage demanding careers and keep the home running. But it seems that that is not the case, and in many instances, women found themselves in the position of having to simultaneously take care of young children, run the family, look after elderly people in the family, and hold down the responsibilities of the workplace. So the complications and the stress of the work-life imbalance in a way has intensified during the COVID crisis rather than diminished. And I believe that this in a way reflects the situation in many other economies around the world, developed and developing. And I think this is a question that we need to ask ourselves, that how do we check this tendency for women to automatically shoulder the lion's share of the burden of running the family, as well as holding down the responsibilities in whatever is the job that they have chosen to pursue. And I think that is, at the end of the day, just social conditioning, that we tend to be more responsible perhaps, or there is this social expectation that women are the primary caregivers at home, while there is little leeway that is offered to them in the workplace. In most circumstances, I would say that I am very fortunate in that in my own ministry, we are completely gender neutral. And I can say that with, in all honesty, that at no stage did I feel that I was either benefited or negatively impacted by virtue of my gender. It was a case of you are given this job, you perform that job. It's not that there are heightened or lowered expectations because you're a woman. But not all organizations are like that, and I'm very, very cognizant that that is the case. So I think COVID in many ways has sharpened the impact and the stress of managing work and home disproportionately for women as opposed to men, and that's something that we will have to find solutions for going forward. That if the work from home protocol is prolonged and more companies turn to this practice of encouraging their employees to work from home, how do we insulate and make that really soundproof barrier between the home and the workplace? Because I think that's what we will need to evolve over the next few years.
Has your ministry always been gender neutral, and how supportive has the ministry been of the female employees?
I mean, for me, when I joined the ministry more than 25 years ago, at no stage was my gender an issue. You know, in my year, 14 of us were recruited in the diplomatic service. 6 of us were women. So as it is, we were almost 50-50 ratio. And we did everything. All our training was together. We all went off on our postings together. While we were young officers, we had a mix of young female and young male officers. at no stage did I feel that I was being singled out for special treatment or singled out for discrimination because of my gender. And in all these years, I would say that the ministry has been understanding of, for instance, those of the officers who are married to fellow officers or who are married to people outside in private sector occupations. It's been encouraging and facilitatory. And that is, in a way, a very long distance that we have journeyed from where we began in the 1950s, when female officers were told that you are joining the service, but you will have to quit if you get married. And that is where we began. So from that stage to today, in 75 years, I think we've come a long way.
Let's talk about lighter topic, but also everybody's favorite topic, food. You and your husband are both foodies, and you have also provided some of your authentic dishes for our functions, which have been really generous and great. Do you have any other hobbies that you enjoy in Korea? And, India has such great diversity of foods across the country, and Indian food is almost everybody's favorite. So if you have any favorable cuisine from a specific region, or do you have a favorite dish?
Well, that's a very hard choice for me because you're right. I love food. I'm very restricted in my diet because I'm vegan. My husband is vegetarian, but I'm vegan. So that checks my experimentation to a degree. But one of the joys of Indian cuisine is that it is very adaptable to different dietary preferences. It's very easy to be a vegan or a vegetarian in India, and I find the same in Korean cuisine as well, that there is so much of choice for vegans, and with absolutely no compromise on the quality or the taste of what I get to eat. But if you were to tell me that choose one dish that I love the most, that's really tough, because in fact I cannot answer that question. In India, it depends on where I am at that moment. It also depends on the season, because like in Korea, we also have a lot of seasonal variations in our food. But I will give you one dish from north, south, east, west, and that I think would be a good mix of what I like in Indian food. From the north, I guess my all-time favorite would be something which many of my friends in Korea like as well, and that is the humble samosa. But in the way we eat it in India is a little different from the way it's available here in Korea and in many other countries. We make it like a chaat, which is a kind of a mix with lots of sauces and a few condiments, and it really becomes a very wholesome and very tasty plate in itself. From the south, my all-time favorite dish has to be the dosa. And that again is not something that you get very easily in Korea. You get it in just one restaurant, but it is the iconic dish of the South, I would say, and it's kind of pan South India. In the East, there is a very interesting dish which is made from a flour which is not rice or wheat. It's one of the millets. It's called litti choka. So it's a kind of ball which is barbecued, and it is eaten with an eggplant dish, and it is just outstanding. I mean, my mouth is watering just by speaking about it. And from the west, I would say, again, this is street food, but it is a dish called bhelpuri, and it is a very, very, very popular street food in Maharashtra and Gujarat. And it's so light and so flavorful. It cannot be described. You have to taste it to understand what it is. So I think that is a kind of a glimpse of the variety of India, but this is literally the tip of the iceberg. In Korea, we've really loved all kinds of delicacies. It's a bit, how should I say, boring and commonplace, but genuinely for us, the most enjoyable dish, if it is a one dish meal, it's the bibimbap, because we really enjoy that wherever we go. But on a larger plane, I would say all the Buddhist temple food is just simply superb. The kimchi dishes, the kimchi john, it's just, you just name it and we really enjoy it. So it's been a pleasure traveling in your country. You asked what else do I enjoy. I think traveling has been one of my delights. One of the pleasant consequences of COVID has been that we've been here in Korea. We've not been traveling overseas that much. And that has given us the time and the opportunity to travel more in Korea in all seasons, to travel repeatedly to some places which we've enjoyed as a family, which I've traveled to on work. So it's been great experiencing the different, the different terrain, the different cultural highlights of this beautiful country, and to be able to enjoy the food along the way.
Thank you. And is the culture center, Indian Culture Centers, open? I understand that the Culture Center has been offering diverse kind of classes, including yoga and cooking. And are there any classes available these days for the people in the community to take advantage of?
Oh yeah, we did not close at all. The cultural center has been open throughout the period of this COVID outbreak. We had to tweak our systems for making these classes available, because in the pre-COVID days, our instructors and the staff of the cultural center were probably at least for 2 weeks in a month, they were out at various universities, at schools, interacting with local municipalities. There were a lot of demonstrations, as you said, a lot of workshops, a lot of cooking sessions. We ran this entire series on Ayurvedic cooking, Ayurvedic healing, wellness sessions. So we had a lot of interactive programs. We also had a lot of classes at the center. We had 3 instructors from India who were stationed over here, teaching dance, music, and yoga. In the COVID times, we have had to change these systems. We have had to adapt. So we're now doing a lot of online classes. We're doing, even our yoga classes are being offered online. Our dance classes, we are currently on a break, I think, but we are offering dance classes online. We are offering language classes. So we teach Hindi, we teach Sanskrit at the center. And we also offer this, organize this Festival of India in Korea once every year. And that's been a great way of bringing the best of Indian classical dance, classical music, contemporary dance and music, films and cuisine to the people of Korea. That also has been on pause because of COVID. But I hope very much that by the second half of this year, we'll see better times and we will be able to bring those kind of live performances, exhibitions, conferences. We've been working, for example, with the Korean Contemporary Artists Association. We've been working with the Korean Film Archives. We've been working with Nami Island. We've been working with provincial governments, be it the Gimhae city government, the Gwangju city government, the Asian Cultural Center in Gwangju. So we've really got excellent partnerships all over the country. And we are very confident that we are able to bring some of the best cultural content of India to the people of Korea. Unfortunately, it's on hold. We are doing a lot of stuff online. It's good. It's something that I would continue to do while the situation is what it is. But I don't think the impact of culture can be the same when delivered through online means and when it is delivered when the performer and the audience can connect visually and viscerally. So that's something that I'm really missing a great deal, but looking forward to better times in the second half of this year.
Thank you. And if there's any one thing that you would like to do this year, if there's any one goal that you'd like to accomplish, what would that be?
Sorry, come again, Yvonne? I didn't get that.
If there is one goal that you are very much looking to accomplish this year, whether it's personal or business, what would that be?
Like that. Okay. If there is one goal, now again, that's so tough because I have, many kettles of fish which are on the boil at the moment. But I would say that something that would give me a great deal of satisfaction if some of the business deals that are at a very, very mature stage of discussion, some of the investment proposals which are at a very exciting stage of negotiations, if some of the trading discussions that are underway, if even 50% of those could materialize over the next 6 months, I think I can say that I have achieved something substantial. Apart from that, on a personal note, I would really want to make the time to climb Halasan, because that is one mountain that I have not yet climbed, and it is the highest in the South Korean territory. So in fact, I'm determined that is one thing that I will do before I finish my innings and move on from here.
Great. Well, Your Excellency, the time is up, unfortunately, although I like to keep talking more about food and yoga and other fun stuff. But it was great to get your insight about the two countries' bilateral relationships. And I'm sure that under your leadership, we will continue to thrive. So thank you for taking your time for us. And we look forward to working more closely with your embassy this year and next year and going forward. It's always our honor to have you involved with us, and we very much look forward to seeing you again. In the meantime, we hope that you'll continue to stay safe and healthy. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you so much, Yvonne. It's been a pleasure as always, and look forward to seeing you again very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you.